All right, and we're back from our sponsors. I know you just heard it, but we're going to say it again. Today's conversation is brought to you by Pedal Perfect. For all your flower needs, Google Pedal Perfect. Find them. All right, so today's conversation is going to be about White 90 here. It could be a short 5-minute conversation, or maybe the guy will open up and we'll have, a 40-minute conversation. But I want to know about Todd. I know about Todd, but everybody else doesn't know about Todd / White 90. So, hi, Todd.
That's good.
Let's start with the basics, man. Where the fuck were you born? Where are you from? Where's your hood? Where you hang out?
I was born in Downey, California. Yeah.
Were you born in Downey at the hospital?
Yep, in the hospital.
Sweet. I was born there, too.
You were?
I was born in Downey. I was.
How'd you end up there?
My grandpa lived right down the street, and that was the closest hospital to him, and that's where my mom ended up going. And my mom and dad used to live in Downey. They were in Downey. I think they were in Downey when I was... No, they were in Downey before I was born, and then they went to La Palma. She has a picture of... She took a picture. I have it at home. She took a picture. They used to live on Stewart and Gray in between Reeves and Paramount. So right down the street from Taco Bell. And she has a picture of the dairy. She took a picture from outside of her room, and you can actually see the dairy. Yeah, you can see the dairy.
My mom and I, we used to go through there all the time.
So you started in Downey?
Yeah.
Yeah? From zero? And then went to Downey schools?
Yeah, went to South Middle School, and then it's not called that anymore. It's all the middle schools were called, East, West.
Yeah, what's near us now, or near me now? What is that? West?
That's West.
Yeah, it's not West anymore. It's I forgot what it was called. I forgot what it's called. I should know what it is. I fucking walk by it every day.
Yeah, you should.
I do walk by it every day when I'm taking kids to school. So what?
So yeah, we my brother and I and my mom we grew up in Downey, and then we moved. My dad started a restaurant up in Redding, California, so we moved up to.
See, I'm already learning stuff I didn't know. I thought you went to Redding to go to Redding. I didn't know because your dad opened a restaurant.
No, yeah, my dad opened up a restaurant, and my mom and dad, they were divorced. So, but they remained friends. And when he went up north to start this restaurant, he needed help with making salads, and it was like it was an 8-course like high end meal place.
He asked you and Craig to go up there to make salads?
Yeah. Well,
how old were you guys?
He asked Roby to go up and make salads, not me.
Gotcha.
We left. I was 9, 10, 11. Yeah. So when we leave, I was 9 years old and something like that.
When you so that puts you at what school were you going to at that time?
Yeah, I was just getting out of Maud Price.
All right. Did you meet anybody at Maud Price that you talk to now?
Oh, no. Actually, I was just that's the age where you start making friends, and you're just playing sports outside of school, and with DJA, what is it? DJA? Yeah, DJA baseball and all that stuff in the city. So yeah, I was making friends, and that's when everyone was like, "We're leaving. We're going to Redding," and I'm like, "No, I'm not. You guys are going. I'm staying here." I didn't want to fucking go, and so. My mom decides to go up and help my dad and get us out of the city, and it was actually pretty cool. 3 years we spent 3 years up there, and I learned how to do a lot of things like in the woods, taking off on bike trails that were 5 miles long. I learned how to fish.
Were you guys riding motorcycles by then, or is that where it started?
No, it's not where it started, but the people that we started racing with had that was their family was up there, and my mom and became friends with them, and so yeah, that's how we met Scott, was basically our motocross mentor, coach, all that stuff when my brother and I were racing. But yeah, so we did 3 years up there, and the 3 years that we did up there were, like I said, I didn't want to go at first, but it's the first time we saw snow. Yeah, it was the first time I'd ever seen snow or touched snow in my life. Yeah,
really?
We were driving. We were actually driving in the Impala. My mom had the Impala up there, and
the Impala.
Yeah,
the hood that's in Chad's room.
Yeah, the Impala. So we had
That's awesome.
We had that up there, and I just remember.
Hold on a second. So when he says Impala, he doesn't mean that cool little car that's driving around right now. He means that big
the
boat.
75 Impala.
Yeah, that thing.
My mom had that car was actually from Rochester, New York, brand new off the lot. Drove across the country to when my mom's parents moved out here to California, and then when my grandfather died, that car became my mom's car, and then my mom had that car for I don't know, probably 10 years, and then she was finally going to get rid of it.
Then the cowboy got a hold of it.
Yeah, and then I was like, no, we're not selling that. I'll drive that. She's like, you don't want to drive this around? I go, yeah, I do want to drive that around.
And you did.
Yeah, we had a lot of good times in the Impala.
Yeah, if I would have known about this, I probably would have grabbed some footage of you driving that in your cowboy hat in your young-looking days.
Yeah, I think there's some footage that's kind of floating around that you have on tape.
I have it. Yeah. I have it. Walking in and out of 7-Elevens, walking in and out of liquor stores,
bars.
But it's the hat is what did it for me. You remember when cowboy hats used to be popular? Well,
no. Right? No.
Todd did. White 90 did, and he would wear this cool little cowboy hat and get into that Impala and
look like Burt Reynolds, man.
Yeah, I used to have to find a ride home from the bars.
Yeah. So the first time we saw snow was we were driving around, and Craig and I used to like to ride in the back seat because it was a big long bench and you could fucking lay out and whatever the fuck. And so we're driving down the mountain, in the neighborhood, and up in this I think the town's called Inyo. It's like a little south of Downey or just south of Reading, and we're driving. These giant white rocks are on the side of the road, from the melt off, and they're just clocking by, and we're just like, the fuck, Mom, what is that? Where are those? She goes, I don't know, just rocks. And I'm like, no, I think that's snow, Mom. I'm like, pull over. So we pulled over, and then Craig and I remember trying to, break chunks of snow off to have snowball fight on the side of the road. But that was pretty cool. And then my mom had actually the next year when it snowed, she kept us out of school the first day, and we learned how to go. We went to Mount Lassen to learn how to ski. And
learned how to what?
Yeah, that was the only day I've ever skied in my
Me too.
life.
You've only done it once?
Once.
Same here. I did it once. That was it. It took one time to know, not for me.
Yeah, this is too much equipment. The poles, the skis, it was all way too much equipment. And we had a great time. I fell and broke my ass all day, but it was skiing was just seemed like. Hey, grab me one. Skiing just seemed like it was.
The red one?
Doesn't matter. Skiing just was not for me at all, man. It was too much work. Like I said, it was a good time.
So how old are you?
9.
All right. So have you started skating yet?
Yeah.
So you already skating a little bit. So
not really skating. We have cheap skateboards at this point, like the Woolworths, Target boards, the Nash boards, whatever the shit.
Nash boards.
Yeah, and so we had a board. I think we had one board that we were country, but we were more into riding bikes and BMX.
Snowboarding hadn't existed yet. But
it didn't exist yet. So, but yeah, so like I said, I knew I'd rather go to tubing at that point. I'd rather go tubing down hills instead of fucking skiing, So we did, like I said, we lived there for 3 years, and it was a great 3 years.
Making salads?
Roby was making salads, and we would go to the restaurant every weekend, and we would help like vacuum and clean out the cushions. And Craig and I got like every week we'd probably make like $3 or $4 and change.
Hold on a second. How old were you when they divorced?
My mom and dad were split by the time I was 3, and Craig was just turned a baby. He was just a baby.
But your dad opened a restaurant, and your mom said, "I'll come and help you."
Yeah, I told you they remained friends.
Yeah, no, I know, but that's amazing.
Well, another thing too is I think my mom and my dad both kind of, not that there's anything wrong with Los Angeles, but I think if every kid had an opportunity to get out of the city, out of the concrete jungle here, and kind of, like Scott, I've never been to Concord, but living, but you guys have. I've seen pictures of your house, and like being out more, like not necessarily the countryside, but just being in not the city, not the big city was, I think, kind of interesting to my mom. And and my mom, I think at the time, she was the adult, so I think she wanted out of the city.
And it's safer for you guys up there.
And she, well, I mean, no, it doesn't mean safer. There's bobcats. I mean, there's all kinds.
It's not the streets of hardcore Downey.
Right,
and at that point, Downey was actually.
Yeah, Downey was
nice.
Yeah, Downey's still a good place to live. I mean, it's still a good place to live. But, so. Yeah, I think my mom just wanted a chance to maybe give us a different perspective on how life could work and not in the city. So she took a chance, but my dad got her we had a huge house. We had a 3-bedroom, giant den.
Were you guys living together?
No.
No? All right.
My dad still had his own place, but
Gotcha.
He got my mom, set her up in a house in a neighborhood that was probably 5 miles down. We lived kind of close to the Sacramento River. Like I said, there was so much. We got up there in the middle of the night, and when you get up in the middle of the night to a new neighborhood,
you don't know what's going on until the sun comes up.
Until the sun comes up.
Yeah.
Yeah, so that first morning, I mean, I had these big bay. My brother and I had these rooms next to each other, looking out to the front street, and we had these big bay windows, like you could actually climb in, and sit and look out the window. I mean, it was really cool.
You didn't have bunk beds anymore? Or?
No, we didn't have bunk beds. Craig and I were not sleeping in the same room at all. Not even at 9. Before we moved, I think my mom was. No, you know what? We did. Before we moved, we were still in bunk beds. You're right, Scotty.
You know what? Speaking of
we were.
Craig, I was just thinking the other day, I'm like, dude, we need somebody to come in, because the person I thought of was Jimmy's friend, Tom. But we need somebody to come in here and talk construction. Who can we talk with construction? And holy shit,
yeah,
Craig.
Craig.
When's Craig getting in here?
Soon.
Yeah. So
we'll get him in here.
You and Craig are
so we have these
looking out bay windows.
Bay windows, yeah. And then it was just like we had this big giant maple tree in the front yard, and that was summertime. We got up there in the summertime. We left right after school we finished our last day of school in Downey, and then we moved. So that first whole summer, I'll never forget that neighborhood kids would ride by our house and just look at us. No one said a word to Craig and I. We didn't go off base from the house because we didn't know we didn't ride our bikes through the neighborhood. We just kind of stayed at home. We were really big into slip and slides at the time, and we had a really backyard, so we had plenty of room to build like double slip and slides, and we had a big tree in the backyard, so we had a rope swing and all that shit. So we were fine, but none of the neighborhood kids talked to us. And the first day of school at Sycamore Elementary, you're not allowed to wear shorts to school. And my mom and dad did, for whatever reason, they did not figure this out. And the very first day of school, I'll never forget, as us walking, because school was only probably a mile away in the neighborhood, walking to school in September, when school year starts. It's still hot as fuck up in Redding. Craig and I are wearing shorts, and we don't pick up on it
that nobody else is.
Nobody else is, on the way to school walking. But all these kids are looking.
You're from Southern California, man.
We're SoCal, right? We had the Hang 10 T-shirts on and our shorts. And
OP shorts.
Yeah, and so we get to school and we walk in, and it dawns on me right when we get to school. As soon as I walk through the gates, and I'm like, Craig, I go, no one's wearing shorts. He's like, yeah, so whatever. Maybe
sounds about right.
Yeah. Craig's like, I don't know, whatever. So we get there, and we both go to our first classes, and within 5 minutes, Craig and I are both at the front office from our different classes, sitting.
And you're like, hey, I know you.
I know you. And Craig's like, what's up? And I'm like, I think it's the shorts, Craig. So they called our mom, and mom come down to get us, pick us up, and she was like, whatever, okay. So you guys don't want to let your kids wear shorts. So I remember we get in the car, and my mom just going the whole time driving home, going, how fucking stupid is that? These kids can't wear shorts. It's fucking 100 degrees out here, So, but after that,
the neighborhood kids knew who you were real quick.
Yeah, the neighborhood kids. I mean, they knew who we were. They were clocking us all summer, So after that, we came back, and it was like it was amazing that when we got back with pants on, all the kids in our classes the next day, we would change from I think to two different classes from homeroom, and then throughout the day you only change one other class. But during the PE and recesses and all that stuff, all the kids started coming up and be like, hey, I'm Jim. Hey, I'm Jay. I'm Clay. I'm Robbie. I'm Kurt. And all the kids that I met up there, I mean, they were fucking awesome, man. I've lost contact with.
Yeah, I was gonna say, have you kept in contact with any of them? I mean,
no.
It's a little hard at 10.
No. Yeah,
when
it's
you're
hard
10 years old.
No, yeah, it's but no, I haven't. But I did try to find one friend that I was really close with up there. His name was Jim. But I found him where he might, possibly be, and then there was that moment where you're like, do you want to go further with this and try to, reconnect? And I stopped, and I just haven't. But there was a lot of, like I said, those 3 years, these kids taught us how to. I mean, taking off in the streets of Downey and Los Angeles on your bike at 9, you didn't go very, very far.
You had to stay in yelling distance.
Right.
That's how that works.
Or you get to go out with someone older, like Robbie Barter used to take us out, to the bike shop, or, as long as you were with an adult, you could go further off your street. But in Redding, kids would be like at 9 o'clock in the morning, see ya, and we would go ride up into the hills and by farms and by the rivers, and there's this place called Oak Santa Gravel. It was an old abandoned rock quarry place right next off the 5 freeway and between the 5 and the Sacramento River. And dude, it was the fucking playground of all playgrounds. It was an abandoned rock mining place, and it had the old conveyor belts and the big giant silos that hold the crushed rock.
Were they working, or you just climbing on them?
All bad. Just climbed on
climbing on them.
Giant jungle gym, man. And
wow.
The river was right there. So I mean, it was like I said. It was. I didn't want to go at first. I was very like, fuck no, I'm not going to Redding. But after the first summer, it was the greatest time. It was, and then having to leave to come because my dad's restaurant was
too nice for the area.
No. There was a little bit of that going on, and you tapped out. Like there's only so many people that were going and could afford the restaurant.
There's only so many people that live in one area.
Well, but there was only it took about 3 years for it to kind of become old,
Gotcha.
And it was cool at first. I mean, my dad, Christmases were great up there, except for the year that we got caught playing with fire. That was the year Craig and I discovered fire, and we started. Craig almost caught the elementary school on fire.
That's not good.
The only giant tree, the willow tree. There's only one tree out in the playground of this elementary school we went to, and Craig, he almost caught it on fire, and then
on purpose?
No, we were just playing like Army. We used to play a lot of Army up there, and we used to.
What does that have to do with fire?
Because you got to keep warm, we used to make playing out in the dirt in the hills. You have to keep warm. You're playing.
You keep warm, or for your soldiers to keep warm?
No, us. We were the soldiers.
Gotcha. You weren't playing with GI Joes. No, you guys were Army.
These kids we'd met up there. Kurt, his father was in Vietnam, so he had tons of camouflage jackets, backpacks. Everything you needed to play Army, this one kid had.
Gotcha.
And so we would go and dig holes and foxholes in the hills and wherever we could go and mess around in it. So Craig
somebody needed a warming fire, and Craig's like, I got this. I got this.
Well, we used to take matches from the restaurant. We had to put my dad in.
Your restaurant?
Yeah, my dad. The book of matches. So it was all the evidence.
You just don't see that anymore, by the way.
The book of matches?
Anywhere.
Yeah.
Anywhere. I mean, you have to literally ask for them at the liquor store, and they don't even have them anymore. And I just hear people ask for them because, I mean, cigarettes are what, $10 a fucking pop right now?
Yeah.
And nobody buys matches. Yeah. So every once in a while I hear somebody say, do you have matches? And the guy's like, he looks at him kind of funny. He's like, what are you talking about?
Buy a lighter.
Yeah, so I mean, that's kind of funny that, I mean, you grabbed your you grabbed your dad's matches and almost burned down the school tree.
So everything was going good except for that Christmas. I mean, my dad was making money. The Christmas that we got caught playing with fire, we got snow saucers, and I think I got a football. And that year
That's all you needed.
Yeah, no, well, I mean, it's all we needed. I mean, but that year sucked, and we learned a very hard lesson. Kids, don't play with fire. It's not.
Oh, is that why you didn't get stuff?
Yeah. Oh, yeah. You mean Craig almost burned a fucking tree in a school down?
Well, and you said that the business wasn't going well, so I thought maybe it was dollar-wise. No, it was straight up you're in trouble-wise?
We were in trouble.
But at least you got things.
Yeah. No, it's like I said. So we. Had,
I like the way that your dad explained it to you why you didn't get stuff.
Yeah, because you're fucking idiots.
That's not why. Think about it now that you're an adult.
Yeah,
you didn't
Craig almost burned a school down. That's why we almost fucking burned a school down. So we got that. We got in trouble, and then like I said, those 3 years they went by really fast. And when we left that morning, that was one of the hardest. That was one of the hardest mornings to leave too, because we left on an early morning to come back to Los Angeles. And I remember driving through the neighborhood and my mom stopping at every one of my friends' houses. It was like 7 o'clock in the morning, and I knocked up
goodbye tour
to the windows. I'm like, later Jim, later Kurt, later Robbie, and yeah, it sucked, man. And so, but getting back down to Los Angeles, then it was a whole nother like.
Did you go back to the same Devanir house, or?
Yeah, we came back to the
same one. So what was going on for those 3 years while you were gone? Was it empty, or you renting it out?
Rented
out.
Yeah.
Sweet.
So yeah, we got back, and then I started. It was my first day of 7th grade, and that was a whole nother, I thought it was hard making friends up in Reading, but when I got back and didn't have any of those old friends, 'cause, those years are when you start making your really good bonds, and who you're going to hang with and all that stuff. And so Craig and I had no friends basically when we came back, and the first day of middle school was kind of rough. It was a couple weeks went by before I was starting to hang out with anybody. And after that, I met this kid named, I think Kenny Shaw was his name, Kenny, and him and I kind of hung for a while, and then that's when I met the rest of the crew.
Who was the first guy you met?
Kenny.
No, in the crew.
That was probably.
Was it Freddie?
No, it was Cazoose, it was Jason, the LAPD officer that we had on the show here, and Steve Miller and Willie. Willie's the first kid that I sat next to in Mr. Patterson's class. I thought he was the smartest Asian in the class.
Okay, so I just found out at the wedding reception, I was told that Willie won the spelling bee. I'm like, no shit.
Yeah.
She's like, Willie won the spelling bee. I'm like, no shit.
What spelling bee?
The spelling bee that the kids were giving you guys at the at the wedding reception.
Right.
And she said Willie won the spelling bee, and I was like, well, duh. And she thought I meant like he won the spelling bee at school. I'm like, no, he won the fucking spelling bee there.
Yeah.
But Willie was the kind of kid that, yeah, you can cheat off me. I don't give a fuck.
Yeah, but he when I sat down next to him, he was asleep, and then when he finally realized I was the new kid, he's like, hey man, he's like, did you sit next to me because you think I'm the smart Asian in the class? I'm like, no, I didn't. He was like, well, good. He goes, because I don't know what the fuck's going on here. History wasn't his thing, And Mr. Patterson, actually, he got smacked by that teacher like a couple weeks later for falling asleep again. He came by and whacked him on the back of the head.
You can't do that now.
Super hard. No, I know.
You can't do that in today's.
That's what we talk about. When we always bring that story up, he's like, dude, that dude hit me hard, man. And Mr. Patterson was a big dude, man. He's like, that fucking dude put hands on me. And he's like, you can't do that nowadays.
I had hands put on me by a teacher in 5th grade. He didn't like what I did, and he pushed me, and he pushed me up against the coat racks. So I had the bar right in my back. Went, So I went home and told my dad.
Yeah.
And usually, like, I can handle my own little problems at school. But that one, I was like, hey, man, this guy pushed me, Dad. And he pushed me into the thing. It hurt my back. A few days later, my dad's like, he won't do that again, son. I guess my dad went down there and talked to him. Good old Ron.
Good Ron.
Yeah, I remember it. Mr. Schuster. 5th grade teacher, Mr. Schuster.
Thank you for the lessons, Mr. Schuster.
Yeah, so that puts you at 7th grade at South Middle School, and you're meeting
Steve Miller.
You're meeting people. You're meeting people at this point that you know now.
Yeah. That I still know.
I mean, this is the 80s.
Yeah.
This is the fucking mid 80s. What, 85?
No, it's like 88. 87.
I was in 7th grade in 87, so. 87, 88, 88, 89. Yeah, so.
No, it's 87 because 9th grade is my 88 year. So.
Gotcha.
So you have your years wrong.
Duh.
So 87, it's like 87,
So 87, 88, 89. Because I know 89, 90 was my freshman year. So, yeah, no, I'm 87, 88 for, like, my 7th grade shit.
Yeah.
But, so you meet those guys, and at this point, you still in motorcycles? Still in skateboarding?
No, I'm skating. We're skating, daily, everywhere, and not riding motorcycles yet. So the person so we still have friends up in Reading, and these are Chris and Matt, these two boys that we used to hang with. My mom befriended their mother. Her name was Liz. Liz is married to a guy named Bob. Bob's brother, Scott, is the uncle of Chris and Matt, the kids that we used to run with. And those kids were rock and roll kids, man. They had the first Santa Cruz, like real skateboards, and they lived up in CV, Central Valley, which was probably a little north of Reading, probably like 10 miles. And they used to live in this really, really bitchin' new track home area, and they had 80s. They had Suzuki 80s that Scott, their uncle, would get them, and they also had skateboards. They were building quarter pipes. They were like, those are the kids that were going and taking wood from the old construction, for the new homes, and stealing it and bringing it back. And so Craig and I, when we'd hang with these kids, they smoked, they dipped, Copenhagen, and so I mean, they got Craig to fucking try cigarettes at like fucking 8 years old, man, and dip.
And what, 30 years later?
And 30 years later,
he's still fucking smoking them.
Sponsored by Philip Morris, yeah.
Jesus.
So, but these kids, Chris and Matt, were really cool. They taught us, how to, they played drums. They had their own. They both played guitar and drums. They skated. They rode motorcycles. So we learned how to, kind of be adventurous and take off for the day with them, which was super fun. And then going to the Lake Shasta, Whiskey Town Lake. That was all, just fucking amazing stuff. So then we came back down to Los Angeles. So how we meet Scott, their uncle, is he's going to go up there for a vacation. He would go up there every summer. And one summer he said, "Hey, Roby, do you want to go up? I'm going to get a motorhome and go up and see Bob and Liz and the boys and everything like that." And she's like, "No, but Craig and Todd and Craig might want to go." So that summer we went up. That summer, 2 weeks was great because then Scott was really like, hey, he would take Chris and Matt on the bikes.
You see all your old friends?
Yeah, I saw all the old friends.
That was probably really cool.
Yeah, it was really cool.
Yeah.
You had to see all the old friends because it had been like it was like a 4-year gap.
Oh wow.
Yeah, it was like a 4-year gap before we went and did this vacation. So that and then, or maybe like 2 or 3 years, 4 years. Because then when we got up there, Scott was bringing back one of the Chris and Matt's bikes that they were going to sell or whatever. So on the way back, I was just interested in. Craig and I are both like, "Yeah, like, what are you gonna do with the bike? And can we come over? Can we go ride?"
Just kids asking questions without asking the question.
Right. And so we went, and Ascot Speedway was going on down off the 91 freeway on Friday nights. So he goes, "All right, well, let me take." That's where they used to do the bikes with no brakes. What was that? The Speedway. It was called Speedway. But anyway,
Penhall.
Yeah, those kids. Yeah.
Bruce Penhall.
Yep. So we got home, and then he took us to a few of the speedway races in Ascot, and we were like, yeah, we want to do this. So then he had to go back and convince Roby, these kids want bikes, and if you guys are interested in getting bikes, I will teach them how to ride, and eventually if they want to start racing, because Scott raced, he still races to this day. He's on vet class, but he still races. So my mom and dad, it took them a long time to get to the point where they convinced Bruce and Roby that, hey, but Bruce was the one that said, if you don't let them do this, because I wasn't playing football and I didn't have the grades to stick around. I could try out for basketball, I could try out for baseball, but every time the grades came out, I would get D's, and you had to have those C average to play. So, so Bruce finally said, he goes, if you don't let these boys have some sort of an outlet, they're gonna start robbing liquor stores. They're gonna be bad kids. So my mom and Bruce finally said, yeah, let's do this. Let them do it. And I got my first motorcycle. I got an RM Suzuki 125, 80 and 89 model. And my brother, we used to get our bikes from R&D, which was Rudy and Dean. Everybody in the motorcycle world would know who they are. They used to live they used to have a shop out of Norwalk, and they built bikes. And they basically, Scott knew them, and that's where Scott would get all his bikes for all of his nephews and all of the kids that he was training how to race.
This whole fucking time I thought Uncle Scott was your mom's brother.
No, just Uncle Scott is just the kind of a friend. Uncle Scott.
I'm Uncle Scott to a lot of my friends' kids.
Yeah.
That's how it goes.
That's how it goes. So
see, I'm learning things about White 90 today too.
Yeah. So yeah, Scott would take us out, and we started going to Adelano out there off the 395, and we would go out there, some weekends with a crew of like 10 kids, or we'd go out there with just the 3 of us. And there was tracks out there. Sunrise track was out there off of the 395, and so we got from the desert, and we'd start doing like Paris Raceway and start doing like tracks, and then finally we would, do you want to race? And then so Craig and I both said, yeah, let's race. So we got involved with SRA, CMC, and all that stuff, and it was fun. It was fun, and then I was, like I said, I was in high school, and then by the time I got to senior year, I kind of started getting into snowboarding and chicks and, hanging out with friends.
So what year is this?
I
Senior year is what, 91, 92?
91.
Yeah, because snowboarding kind of showed up. 87, it was happening. Nobody knew what it was.
Right.
89, people were starting to figure it out. But 91 is when it just went boom.
Yeah,
it was Creatures of Habit 2.
Right.
Not Creatures of Habit 1, but Creatures of Habit 2 is what just blew it up, at least in my world.
Yeah, but the first time we went snowboarding, I went with Clint. And we were, my uncle Donald, my mom's real brother, Uncle Donald came.
Where'd you go?
To
Mountain High at Night, like everybody else for their first time?
No,
Bear during the day?
Snow Summit, or Bear.
Most likely Snow Summit. Bear wasn't
Yeah.
wasn't
I think
quite
it was-
the
I think it
place
was
at the
Snow
time.
Summit.
Snow
Yeah,
Summit was the place.
Yeah. So Uncle Donald, he lived in Breckenridge, Colorado. He was
And now that one's a real uncle, right?
Yes.
Okay.
That's
all
Uncle
right.
Donald's my mom's brother. So he lived in Breckenridge right there on the mountain.
Oh,
Right,
beautiful
yeah,
city. It's
yeah,
a postcard city. I've been there. It's
Yeah.
a postcard town.
So he was in town and during the winter time, and he's like, "Hey, the boys want to go snowboarding," and he's like, "Well, I'll go skiing. I'll take them up." And so it was my first time even being up the mountain, going up to Big Bear area, and having my uncle drive. Clint and I were in the back seat. I borrowed a Sims.
You borrowed also?
I borrowed the Sims board, and Clint rented. It was the first time you could start renting boards at the sports chalet.
Do you know whose board I borrowed when I first went?
Kurt's?
Nope.
No.
Nope. Downey Boy. He's not with us anymore.
Oh, is that Beltree?
Yep.
Yeah.
Jeff had a Burton Air, Craig
Yeah.
Kelly Burton Air, and he was super cool and let me borrow it for 2 times. And at that point, I was working at the liquor store.
Yeah.
And somehow I acquired money from that liquor store, and I bought my own snowboard.
Right.
And I bought a Kemper.
Yep.
And so I remember my first board was a Kemper, and I didn't need to borrow his board anymore. And then I remember people asking to borrow my board, and I'm like,
Nah.
I wasn't as cool as Jeff.
No, you know what? It's funny you say that because I borrowed my first board from a kid named Kevin, and yeah, when I got my first board and people wanted to borrow, I was like,
I don't know about that.
Yeah.
And that was like the thing to do. I mean, snowboarding was new. It was exciting.
Yeah.
It was fun.
Yeah, it was a full-on charge, man, for sure. And so, like I said, so my uncle took us up there, and Clint and I had a blast. And that was actually the first time, besides like tubing up in Reading, that I've been back. And like I said, skating was already in our blood, so we were already doing that sideways.
Yeah, and Clint was a good skater.
And so we were going sideways.
So you two figured it out pretty quick?
Pretty quick, man.
Yeah.
Like 1 or 2 runs, and then him and I just and I never forget, we both bought like identical outfits. We had bright orange pants, and we had these purple and black jackets. We had these new Wave Rave. Remember?
I remember Wave Rave. I had Wave Rave pants.
Yeah.
I had Wave Rave black pants with a purple butt, and they were bibs.
Yeah. We had these big purple and black Wave Rave jackets, and sunglasses and hat. I mean, it was just, we were identical. We were twinsies for sure. But we had a blast, and we took off from there. And snowboarding, we never stopped. And now I can say, honestly, I've missed the last 2 seasons of snowboarding because of my knees.
Only one. You only missed one.
We went once. We went to Mammoth. Okay.
No, I'm talking about, like, we went to Alaska last year.
Right, okay, you're right. We went
to Mammoth, we went to Alaska.
I missed 1 season.
And then I haven't ridden since Alaska, and because of our awesome weather, there's going to be snow up there till at least July 4th.
That's what they say, but I don't think so.
I just spoke to somebody who was there over the weekend, and he said there's a lot of snow, and it's not even all icy. Like, there's no powder left, but there's a lot of snow.
There's a lot of sun in the air too. In a minute.
There is, but we should probably go before the season's over.
Dearborn, you want to get your skis out?
Yeah.
Huh?
Well, we can do one of 2 things, because the way that the world works is we can land in Mammoth, ride, and be back in time to string. That's how awesome it is. Or we can fucking drive 6 hours, ride, and then not drive home. Remember when you were young, you could do all that in one thing?
Turnaround trips.
No turnaround.
It's like an hour flight. Just fly up.
Yeah,
there.
just fly up there, just
It's like
ride for a little bit, and then
Reno.
fly home.
Reno was like, what, 2 hours? 2-hour flight?
Did you?
Up
When
there?
you just went, right?
Yeah.
He had a little bit of
I didn't
issues,
ski,
but
though. Yeah.
You didn't ski?
he took his skis.
I took my fucking.
Did you really? And you
Yeah.
didn't ski?
No, I got up there. It was late.
Remember,
Got
he
Saturday
got there a
night.
day late.
Oh, right.
Yeah.
The weather. It was weather.
Gambled. Yeah.
It was weather.
Right? How was Reno? I didn't even ask you.
There's a lot of tweakers.
You want to hit that quad?
How was it?
Hey, Scott Dearborn, welcome to the show.
It was good. I mean, Reno's it's like Vegas.
The
just
smallest
smaller,
little tweaker
like
town in the smallest
a
little
lot of
tweaker town.
tweakers. You just stay inside.
I got myself a DUI in that town.
Did you really?
Yeah, with Chad.
Oh, right.
Yeah, I was. I became a stringer and worked for 10 days, and then took 2 weeks off. I worked for 10 days, made $1,700, and said, "I'm out of here." And Chad and I went to Reno, San Francisco. Where else did we go? Sacramento.
Didn't you go to his little shit town in Nevada too? What was that?
Yeah. I don't remember, but yeah, no, we went there.
The capital. Carson City.
Yeah, we went there. Sacramento. We did a whole loop, and I ended up getting a DUI in Reno.
Who'd you go see in Reno, Scott?
Swipe left or right?
Who did I see? Just all my friends have like not like a bachelor party. They just have a man,
Just
kinda
a
like
man
a
gathering.
man gathering. Yes.
Yeah,
So
that's cool. Did you guys? So you guys just gambled? Did you guys see a show or anything?
now Stevie Nicks was there the night before, so I missed that. That would have been a hoot.
Real treat, huh?
Yeah, real
To see
treat.
I'd
I'd have fucking gawked it.
Stevie.
Yeah.
Stevie Nicks.
Oh.
All right, so Todd learned how to snowboard,
Yeah.
and I mean, I can personally say snowboarding changed my life. I wouldn't be sitting here right now if it wasn't for snowboarding. I watch enough snowboard fucking videos where I'm like, I need to grab a camera, and well, John Freeman fucking took care of that. Thank you, John Freeman. But snowboarding changed my life. How about you?
I don't know. I mean,
No, at that point, not now, but at that point, you start to look at things different. Like I was almost going to do the military because I figured the military would straighten my dumb ass up. But then I found out I started getting into snowboarding, and I was like, whoa, I'm not going to be able to do this if I go do that. Like I was planning on turning 18, and I'm out. I'm going to go be straightened out and do something respectful. But once snowboarding showed up and then graduation came, I was like, nope, not happening. Snowboarding was a big deal. Kind of still is. I mean, what they're doing now on snowboards is fucking crazy. It's like Olympians, like gymnasts, but on the boards and stuff. So that puts you in high school. What happened out of high school? Well, actually, I don't want to get too involved in it, but Todd used to be really good looking. And so girls would walk up to him. Like I remember walking into clubs and I would hear and girls would be like, "Oh my god!" Like I said, I used to have to fucking find rides home. I would show up with Todd to the bar, and I'd have to find a ride home. But anyways, so did you continue on that? Let's go down the path a little bit about.
Wait, weren't you like you were a quiet guy? Used to be like
I was using your moves. I was the
quiet guy in the background, but now
real
it's
tall, quiet guy with the nice hair in the back. No, that's whatever.
We don't need to talk about women, but we'll get into snowboarding. You graduate high school. What happens in life?
I fucked a couple rides up, and I didn't take people home when I'd show up. Big deal. It happens all the time.
Anyways, so out of high school, what happened to Todd?
I tried to go to college for about a semester, and I had
where?
My
Cerritos, North
Cypress College. I think it's been a long enough time. I'll just tell the story. So, my dad's dad left four of the grandchildren, my brother and I, and my two cousins, Katie and Claire, about $20,000 each to go to college with, if we so choose to, and if not, we could not take the money out and do with what we want until each of us turned 25. So
Todd did some math and said, college is for me.
Yeah.
you should have just waited. You should have waited that one out.
Right? Yeah.
Yeah.
Because actually, it's funny that we figured, I think Katie, the youngest one out of our cousins, waited, and she had a good stack of money with the interest and all that stuff.
Where'd the Kodak come from? Is that it?
That was my mom's mom.
That was your mom's mom?
Yeah.
So that was different.
Yeah, that was a whole different stack of money that we were playing around with, and I figured out how to.
I was around for that one.
I lived with you when I was looting that.
What was that one?
The Kodak?
Yeah, because people don't do this kind of shit anymore.
No.
Our parents' generation did that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
So talk about that. What was it?
Well, when I was living with you in the 90s, in early 2000s, my brother and I both had stock, what they call blue chip stock, and Kodak was one of the they were one of the companies that were considered a blue chip stock. I didn't have that much, I had probably, I don't know, at the time I think I had somewhere like between $7 and $9 grand, like that, and that's when you and I were living together, and you and I were.
I'm really good at spending other people's money.
Right. So you were spending your mom's money on other shit and going in, and we were doing good times and having fun. But I basically would, you're right, I would go down in the morning, down to your mom's desk there, and I would get on the phone, and I would call the bank that took care of.
Because you didn't turn them all in at once, right?
No.
And they're all in different pieces of paper, right?
Yeah, I pilfered them a little bit at a time, and I started running out of money. Because, I wasn't running out of money. I always had a job, but living with you.
That's actually, you know what? Let's start right. Let's go back to that, where you said you always had a job.
Yeah, I've always had a job
since like 15.
Yeah, well, 14. I was working at
like when you and I met at one of your jobs at UPS, but like you had a job with
my first job was I used to work at Philip and Zach's mom's ice cream factory in Paramount.
Wow, I didn't know that. I thought it was with Sam at Super A.
No, that was my first, like, you got a paycheck. Like, I got paid under the table with Nikki.
Gotcha.
You know, when we worked that summer, we would work. Me and Philip.
It's chores. You got paid to do some chores at somebody else's shop.
And eat a shit ton of ice cream. Which was fucking awesome. But yeah, I've had a job since I was 14.
Yeah. So I mean, let's go through them.
Ice cream. Super A Foods.
Ice cream. Super A was during high school, right?
Yeah. And then out of high school.
That's where you met Sam and you learned some life lessons right there.
A lot of life lessons.
And Sam helped you out a lot in school because he let you drive his car.
His big 4x truck, yeah.
That's a big deal when you got to drive somebody else's.
Yeah, it's another thing. Someone let you borrow his truck, and if someone asked me to borrow my truck, I'd be like, So after Super A Foods, and I worked at AC Peterson, which was a concrete cutting company in Downey, and that was a great job. That taught me a lot of construction.
That's physical work, right?
A lot of physical work.
Yeah.
Cutting concrete. Sam worked there for a minute too. He was doing double dip, and he was working at Super A Foods and AC Peterson. But basically that's when the 105 just got constructed, and I cut all the green concrete, all the brand new pour concrete from Studebaker, from where the 105 ends, all the way up to, I'd say, Lakewood.
Wow.
Every night after they would do pours, every night I would get out there and I would cut the stripes, the green stripes, like every 10-foot break, so the concrete doesn't, when it dries, it does, when it cures, it doesn't break. So you put like a little 1-inch cut down so I would do that. I was doing that I did that for like 2 years, and then, but I was working for AC Peterson for 3 years. But I was like the yard kid for a minute. I would pick up buckets and deliver supplies to the job sites and stuff like that. And then I got my own saw truck, and I was cutting concrete for about a year and a half, and then I got tired of being dirty and grimy, and so I quit. I applied for Cypress College. That's where I went to Cypress College. So then,
Are you living with Philip at this time?
Yeah,
or still at home?
No, still living with Philip.
Because your mom kicked you out, right?
Yeah,
it wasn't like you didn't have a choice.
No. When I got kicked out, I lived in Seal Beach for.
Todd liked to throw parties, and his mom left to go,
Vegas,
do her own life.
Yeah, my mom was going
and
to
she
Vegas
left
every other weekend. And
she
I
left
was
Todd.
having huge parties.
Yeah, and those parties finally caught up to him. And I mean, those parties still exist. I mean, at any moment you can walk into Todd's place and it's going to be called Club Toddy. Club Toddy could be anywhere from 2 people to 200 people. But as long as there's music on and a beer in his hand, it's called Club Toddy.
Yeah.
And
good time.
Man,
Good
my 90s is just filled with Club Toddies. But so you're pouring concrete on the 105.
No, not pouring. Cutting
concrete on the 105. Question about the 105. Is it a rumor or is it true, or didn't the people who put it together sink it on purpose so they can come back and what's that whole little deal?
There's a rumor that was circulating around for a long time that from the Studebaker to
Lakewood Boulevard?
No. Basically to like past the 710, where it's all under the freeways, it's like underground. It's not underground, but it's cut into that valley.
Yeah.
So they have pump stations down from Studebaker.
Yeah, we sit in one right there next to.
So when it rains, when it rains and that section of the freeway is in that gully. When it rains, they have these pump stations that were supposed to basically, keep that gully from flooding. And I'd say the first 2 big rains, I'll never forget. Like, none of them worked. None of them worked. That whole section of the 105 just was a lake, underwater. So the companies that were working, that were in charge of not only like piping the pump stations, the concrete pours, the rebars, all those, like there'd be like rumors when you're out on the job, like, they're not doing that right, or that looks like that's gonna fail, and stuff like that. So there was a lot of at the time, I guess there was a lot of people saying, well, the reason why we're doing this is so we can come back to fix this and and stay on this job, and it kind of the 105 took a long time to like get clearance and cut the path and have.
I went to school right at the beginning of it, Imperial and Woodruff. Oh man, what are we talking here? I think 80. 182.
Remember when it was just the dirt valley?
Yeah, I was at school right there, and there was rumors that people would. I didn't live in the area, but I went to school there right at the beginning of the freeway, and I remember hearing things about all these houses are gonna be taken out, and they're gonna put a freeway right there.
Yeah.
And I was like, oh, okay. Like I'm in kindergarten, first or second. It means nothing to me.
Right.
So then, when I finally do move to Downey in '91, it's not done yet, but it's about to open.
Yeah.
So we would have to take Firestone. We would take 605 and get off at Firestone and take Firestone home. And then all of a sudden they open that thing, and now you take Paramount. But I remember back in the early '80s they were talking about that shit.
It was a dirt valley. It was a dirt valley behind our homes for probably 5 years, right there behind Super 8 Foods. It would go right there. So we used to, after school, Craig and all his crew and mine, and we'd come down there and we'd get our bikes and we'd go down there and we'd make jumps, and the construction dudes would chase us out, and we would be, we'd take all their shovels and chisel out, jumps. We had the most massive dirt clod fights. I got hit so hard. This kid Pat Jones, I remember, threw a dirt clod and hit me in the side of the head, and so hard that I think I knocked out for a second. And when I got up, I looked around to see what he threw at me, and I think it was part rock and part dirt. And Pat came up, he knew, it's like, fuck, dude, I'm sorry, like that's a rock in there, Pat, like the dirt clods, man.
He probably didn't know at the time.
Dirt clods, so. But yeah, so Super 8 Foods, and then, like I said, AC Peterson, and then after AC Peterson, I went to college, and then in college, that first semester, I basically took a lot of art classes, and I tried to get into a math class that I was nowhere near ready for. And so with the art classes, what I figured out what to do is I spent the money to get into college and take all my courses. But at the time, the girl I was going out with, she was going to USC, and she was doing her first semester abroad in France. And so I figured out a way to get the money out of my bank for school activities, is all I could use the money for. Like, so if I was room and board and books and all that stuff, the bank would pay for that. So what I came up with, and mind you, there's no like Photoshop wasn't really, I wasn't doing this in Photoshop. I did this all with copy machines. But basically what I did was, I told the bank that my class at Cypress College was going to France for a week or for a couple weeks to go take a tour of all the museums, and I needed $2,000 for a plane ticket and spending money. So I made this fake itinerary of where we would be in France, like day to day, and what museums we were going to, and I made this on a cool little I drew and I typed it, and I made a cool little border for it, and then I put it in an envelope and I sent it to the bank, and I was like, okay, let's see if this works. And what I got back was a check for $2,500, and they said, go have a good time and learn all this stuff.
I remember when you went to Europe. Is that it?
Yeah.
Because you weren't in school when we met, but you went to Europe while I knew you.
Yeah, no, I was. That was the end of my days in school. You and I were working. I was working at UPS, and I was going to school. And then when I figured out how to scam the bank and get the money to go on my trip,
Stop going to school.
I stopped going to school. that was my outro.
Gotcha.
So yeah, so I went to Europe in '95.
I remember that trip.
In '95, I went to Europe, and I landed in France, and like I said, I went to Amsterdam, and then to Germany, and then back into France, back to Italy, back to...
Did you have a backpack on?
I did backpack. I did. I looked like all the pictures. I actually just I was thumbing through shit the other day, and I found one, and I looked like the quintessential stupid American with the cut off sleeves, Dearborn. I had my sleeves cut off, and there's a picture of me standing in Venice in between the canals, and I had a Vans cut off T-shirt. And the Vans shirt, it was during our
Vans days?
During the Vans days. And I'm standing up there with my sneakers and I have these big baggy shorts on, and I got this little shit attitude on. And it's the picture of all these people that are living in Venice, and they're Italians, and they're just doing their day-to-day, going to work. And I'm sitting up there fucking hogging the whole stairway, just take a picture of me. I look fucking cool up here, man.
I remember when you came back, you were livid about the Italians and how they treat women.
Yeah,
and like you just wanted to fight everybody.
Yeah, I had a hard time. I had a hard time in Europe. Like France and Italy were the hardest. Like, cause they were just like catcalling. Like, you know, when you're with a woman and they like the woman you're with, they will let her know, like in front of you. And I was not used to any of that shit. So on a day-to-day basis,
because that doesn't happen here. If that happens, if it happens here. You do something about it and it's okay.
Right, and you expect that to happen, but over there, like you're allowed to do it, and like you can't. It's just different, you know. It's different, and then of course you can pick me out from a fucking lineup a million miles away. I'm an American, you know, and then so was the girl I was with. So, I mean, they were like I would say not like, you know, like they did it on purpose because they knew what I was doing. But I'm saying that she was a beautiful girl, and so they would, you know, whistle and be like, you know, hey, you know, and talk to her. And I was like, hey, why don't you shut the fuck up? And I remember I ruined the last day in France. We were going through this church up on this big grass. I can't remember the name of the church. It's a famous church there. But these dudes selling the tchotchkes out in front of the monuments and stuff like that. We walked in, and as we were walking, they were like, hey, what's up, mama? And they were fucking whistling at her, and fucking, I'm like, what the fuck? I'm like, guess what, motherfucker? I go, when I come out, and we were talking. And so we did it, the tour was like a big horseshoe. And sure enough, man, these kids set their table was on the intro on the way out, and on the way, they move their table to the outro of the tour. And they were like, all right, what's up? What's up, white boy? What are you doing? And I was just so, and Monica's dragging me down the steps going, let's not do this. And I remember I just sit there for a minute, just like steaming, just going, I can't believe this. I'm gonna go flip that table over with all their shit on there. I'm gonna punch the big tall guy first. That's who I'm gonna go for. And I just remember, you know, Monica was just like, I cannot believe you're ruining the Europe trip. I'm like, it's me. I go, it's them. It's them that's ruining the trip, you know? So I had to, you know, I got a real, you know, and Europe was a good life lesson learning thing, you know. People in Europe were there. It's a whole different vibe. It was 95, but it's a different vibe. People over there aren't like,
they didn't hate Americans quite yet.
Not yet, but you still were like, yeah, you know, they're still American. But you know, the people over there they're not living. They live to live. They're not keeping up with a lot of Joneses type shit here like we do here in the States.
Yeah.
And so, you know, and everything over there, people are just, they go about their daily lives. They go to work. They come home and they just want a siesta.
And they just catcall your woman.
And they're doing a lot of cat calling and shit like that. But it was the 95 trip was fun. And then, like I said, I got back. You and I continued on doing our 90s shit.
Club Toddy.
And
getting left at bars.
I didn't leave you at that many bars.
I always had a ride home.
Right. So, no, that's basically how we got to here, I guess.
Yeah, I mean, I'm sure we're missing some things. I think we missed your professional career. But at some point, Todd became a professional. And what's that number say right there, Scott?
I can't read that with glasses.
You're fucking killing me.
We're at 52. Bam!
So then after that, we basically, I was working in the production industry. I worked for a company called T-Minus 30 Films, and that company was my first like real taste of working in the commercial and movie
industry,
the commercial industry, movie industry, and then
lights, camera, action.
Yeah, and then I was a runner for that company, and then during that time, I was like, hey, I kind of want to get involved with post and learn how to edit.
Where'd you go for a week? You went somewhere for a week, and I did your job. I remember Andrew had me getting fish, and those were the fish that were eaten. Like I wanted a commercial for fish, and I had to go to different fish stores, and he's like, I don't want those. I'm like, what are you gonna do with them? Just throw them away? I'm like, no, I have a fish tank, and those are the fish that end up getting eaten.
Right.
But where'd you go for a week?
I was like to editing school. I think I was
editing or sound?
Editing school.
Yeah, 'cause you went to sound school first.
Yeah, I went to sound school first. That was sound master.
Yeah, Todd graduated. He did go to college. He graduated college. Sound master.
Trade schools. So yeah.
Sound master engineering.
I did that, and then.
Do you remember the Beat Pimps concert that you could not sound engineer for the life of you?
Right. Well, I think that also had to deal with my intoxication at the time too. But actually, and I brought a kid from the class that actually did the sound engineering.
It was hilarious. It was fun.
His name Dan.
It was a fun concert.
Oh,
it was a fun concert. The whole time we're just like,
yeah, bring it up.
We're just all just like, who put us in charge?
A lot of pointing going
like,
on.
who put us in charge?
But yeah, so I went to Soundmaster, and then I got the job at T-Minus 30 Films, and then Burgess got me the job. Chris got me. His mom's girlfriend worked at T-Minus 30 Films in the accounting department, and then Burgess was like, "Hey man, I think there's a bunch of equipment down here that you went to school for." And so I get a job at T-Minus 30 Films. I'm a runner, running all over, tapes over.
Not using any of your education whatsoever.
Not using any of it, but in the door. So then I tell the boss that I want to be an editor, and he goes, "All right, I'll send you to school." So he sends me to editing school for about a week, and I try to apply to get the job at the company I'm working for in the editing department, and they go, "No, you didn't pass."
But you wanted to be an editor for a minute, because I remember when we first met, I had a box of VHS tapes, box of snowboarding videos, and I'm like, "Hey, I've seen these all 100 times. You want to watch them?" Yeah. And you're like, "That's what I want to do." Yeah. And I'm like, "What, snowboard?" He's like, "No, make those, edit those." And I was like, "All right, cool." Didn't think anything of it. I'm like, "Give me my fucking videos back. I want to watch them."
Right.
And then slowly but surely, I picked up a camera, you played an editor, and together
we made stuff.
Yeah, together we make one good person.
One good person.
One good person. All right, so we actually got a lot further than I thought, but we got to where I thought. Like I said, I wanted to get from birth to the real thing. We kind of skipped from high school to the real thing. We made that real quick, but I mean.
And that's where I met Scotty Dearborn over here on the boards. That's where Scott and I met, and. He's a great editor. He's the one that puts all of our shows together, and he's our man, right?
Yeah,
was it fun working together? I mean, we're still working together. Real thing was good times.
I hate you, but
I hate
love you. Yeah, the first time I showed up was at the Real Thing.
He loves telling this story.
He's in the chair and he spins around and he has his Boston hat on, just because I'm from Boston, so it was just like. He's like, "Oh, cool, you're from Boston?" He's like, "No, but..."
No, but I got this hat.
I got this cool hat. No, but
you like Matt Damon?
Yeah.
Ben Affleck?
Huh?
And that was it. And then
How you like them apples? Yeah. No, I was, I wear lids. I like to wear, the Dodger hats. I wore that one that day. I did wear it because you were coming in. I wanted to show my, my.
You knew that the guy coming in was from Boston?
Yeah, because the what's her name? Little Sal, yeah, she's the one that said, "Hey, I think I got a guy that would be, that would love to work here and wants to come out from Boston." He was a friend of Larry, Scotty's friend that was in the band. Actually, the Roughed Up Folk the music we use.
Opening track, yeah.
Yeah, our opening track is from a band called Roughed Up Folk. Scotty is good friends with the guitarist of that band. And singer, guitar. Well, he's a guitarist too, right?
The whole band.
The whole band. Okay. But yeah, so Little Sal was going out with him, and Little Sal was our receptionist at the Real Thing. She goes, "Hey, I think I got a guy that would be really good here." And so I was like, "Well, wicked cool, huh? So bring him in, And so the first day I was wearing a Boston hat because I just wanted to show you that, hey, you're home. I like you. I'm going to like you. I know I was going to like you right out of the fucking start, right out of the gate. Sure. You freaking Southie.
Yeah, and I'm not from Boston. I'm outside the city.
Whatever, close enough.
My parents have accents, but I don't have it.
No, you don't really.
Just
you
orange.
do.
Did you?
Orange.
Yeah, when you
No,
say
no.
yeah,
No, you never did.
He does when he says orange.
There's a couple words.
Orange.
Horrible.
Horrible when you say horrible.
Yeah.
What's a 25-cent piece called?
What?
What's a 25-cent piece called?
Quarter.
Quarter.
Yeah. My godson's great grandma, she is from Boston, and to this day, she says quarter.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Quarter.
No, my
like
parents.
you can't. It is not out of her.
That's what when we make fun of him, we got to tell him to slow the words down. Say orange.
It's mostly like the schooling. Like my parents have thick accents, but.
Are they still there?
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, that explains why.
Yeah.
All right. We're gonna wrap this episode up, and thank you, Todd. Thank you for letting us know you. Yeah. All right, guys, join us for the next episode. There will be no closing words. There will be no ending today. We're just going to say bye-bye.
Bye.